Ava Morgan was the kind of girl people barely noticed. She was quiet, shy, and often buried her head in books to avoid attention. With large glasses perched on her nose and oversized hoodies covering her frame, she blended into the background. Of Middleton High, despite her timid nature, Ava possessed a sharp mind, artistic hands, and a heart full of empathy. But none of that mattered in the cruel world of high school hierarchy. For the popular girls, especially Brittany Hale and her gang, Ava was nothing but a target. Her silence was mistaken for weakness, and that made her vulnerable. It all happened after PE one rainy Tuesday, while most girls rushed to the showers. Ava waited, as always, until the locker room was nearly empty. But Brittany and her cronies had stayed behind. Ava didn't notice their presence until it was too late. A cruel laugh echoed behind her as Brittany shoved her into the locker. "Still hiding like a rat, nerd," she sneered. Ava tried to leave, but they blocked her path. One of the girls pulled out a small razor from her cosmetic pouch. What began as verbal humiliation turned into something darker. In a twisted moment of violence, Brittany slashed Ava's cheek, leaving a jagged scar. They laughed while Ava lay on the floor, blood mixing with her tears. Ava didn't tell anyone. She claimed she slipped in the shower when the school nurse asked. Her single mother worked double shifts and had enough stress Ava didn't want to add to her burden. The scar healed, but her self-esteem was shattered. She stopped talking entirely in class. She avoided mirrors. She transferred into online courses for the rest of the semester. People whispered, of course, but the truth never came out. Brittany carried on with her flawless smile, as though nothing had happened, but what she didn't know was that Ava, in her isolation, had begun to change. While hidden from the world, Ava began journaling every memory, every insult, every injustice. Then, she transformed her pain into passion. She began sketching again, something she hadn't done in months. But this time, her art wasn't flowers or forests, it was fire. Characters with scars became warriors in her stories. Ava enrolled in online coding classes and graphic design tutorials. Every sleepless night turned into fuel. She was crafting something incredible, something that would make them all see her, not as a victim, but as a force. The trauma became the catalyst for a plan that would leave Middleton High stunned. When Ava returned for senior year, jaws dropped, gone were the oversized clothes. Her hair, once hidden in a messy bun, now framed her face confidently. Even the scar was visible, outlined with subtle makeup that looked like war paint. Her stride was poised. Her voice, though soft, had weight. Students stared, not because she was loud or flashy, but because she radiated quiet power. She didn't need a clique. She didn't need validation. She had something else, something secret. And soon, the entire school would learn what she had been working on during those months of silence. As part of a school-wide tech showcase, students were invited to submit digital projects. Ava unveiled something no one expected, a fully immersive, interactive story game called Project Phoenix. The protagonist, a quiet, scarred girl who rises from torment to strength, exposing her enemies in front of the world. The game was addictive. Players had to make choices, unravel secrets, and reveal the identities of fictional bullies, but the parallels were unmistakable. The character names were cleverly altered versions of real students. Brittany became Brittina, her followers not so subtly represented. The game went viral within the school in days. Everyone was playing. Everyone was talking. The game's final level was a bombshell. A hidden cutscene unlockable only after completing all moral challenges featured the protagonist confronting her abusers in a digitally recreated locker room. The visuals were hauntingly accurate, right down to the tile pattern. It was then that students realized this wasn't fiction. This was a retelling of something real. Rumors exploded. Teachers were forced to investigate. The principal launched a formal inquiry. Ava, calm and composed, simply submitted her full journal names, dates, details. What Brittany thought was buried had come roaring back through screens, mouse clicks, and emotional truth. The fallout was swift. Brittany and her gang were suspended, pending further disciplinary action. Parents got involved. The local press caught wind of the story. Ava was called brave, inspirational, but she didn't do it for the praise. "I wanted the Truth out, she said in a student interview. Not just for me, but for anyone who's been hurt and told to stay silent. The scar on her cheek was no longer a symbol of shame, it was a badge of survival. Students rallied around her. For the first time, Ava stood not in the background, but at the center, not as a victim, but as a creator of change. The school introduced a new anti-bullying digital program, modeled after Ava's game. She was offered a college scholarship in game design. She even gave a TED talk titled Turning Scars into Superpowers. Brittany transferred schools, her reputation permanently altered. Ava, on the other hand, thrived. She started mentoring other quiet students, helping them find their voice through art and storytelling. What was once a painful chapter in her life became the foundation of her purpose. The locker room that once echoed with laughter at her pain now held silence, a silence that came from change, from learning, from consequence. Years later, Ava would look back at that scarred girl in the mirror and smile, not out of bitterness, but out of pride. She had rewritten the narrative. What was meant to break her became her weapon, her ink, her platform. In a world that tried to silence her, she screamed through code and color. The girl they mocked had become the girl the world listened to. And maybe, just maybe, her story would remind others that being quiet doesn't mean being weak, and that sometimes revenge isn't about hurting back, but rising higher than they ever thought you could.